where we are.
Adventist World Radio, SID Media. We are not general practitioners. We are specialists in Bible-based content.
Oh yeah, indeed we are. So perhaps you have read the prophecy, and like me, you've wondered if you have quite a brain that has tentacles, so I don't think straight. And you've wondered about a lot of things, like I was asking my friend the other day. So the time of the end, like let's talk about it. Will there be, when they say peace, and then this time is almost near, does that mean that even the economy will improve? It's going to be financially, it's going to be nice for people. Like all this inflation that we struggle with and we complain about, it's going to be better just before Jesus comes, maybe before the mark of the beast itself. What are some of the issues that we also look out for? That's me and my imagination, and I'm hoping that we'll find some answers to these questions this morning, and also contribute and share yours. Joining me is our pastor in training, Mr. Pastor Mlilo Busani, who is going to be taking us with us on. Good morning, Bruti. Ojang Fela today. Oh, sorry about that. Dumela Moruti, Pastor Mlilo. Are you well? I think he's still just loading. And then we're going to have him as part of the conversation. But yeah, that's how I think about things. I always wonder, is it going to become so good that you don't want to miss out on anything, because it's like, oh, this is something that I've never thought I would enjoy. A quality of life that has improved, where I've got everything that I want, but I'm also able to afford the things that I need, and inflation is not so bad. And these are things that, given the economy that we have right now, you feel like all of us want things to get better, which is very insane, right? Most of us, I don't know if there's anyone who doesn't want things to get better, but I think most people, Mulifing, would say that they want to see life improve, which is why we participate in politics, which is why we try and improve life in other ways. So will it improve actually before the mark of the beast, as a way to just lure you in? Or you see, we promised you good things. Here are good things. Adam Lilo, good morning to you. I don't know if you are able to hear me.
Good morning to you, Melissa. And our sound, on my side, the sound quality is not so good. But let's see what we can do. Good morning to you, listeners as well.
Thank you so much, Aldam Lilo. We're talking about, how the world and expectations that we have for the future. And I'm just thinking how many of us do expect things to get better, even though we know prophecy. We still want things to get better. And I don't know if it's a weird state of mind that we find ourselves in. Do you want to maybe touch on that? I mean, in a few days' time, we'll be in a new year. No one is thinking 2026 must be the worst year ever so that Jesus can come again. People are thinking, how is my life going to improve? How are things going to become better in the world? Even though we know what prophecy says. We're really struggling with Eldam Lilo. The connectivity is not so good over there. But I mean, you're hearing some of the points that are being laid. And the insane thing is, we are in a controversy. We are in this conflict of good and evil. We can't see it with our physical eyes. It again, it goes with whether you believe. And most, I don't know, I need to stop with these generalizations, but I do think a lot of people do believe that there is good, there is bad, there is a devil, there is God. How do you navigate that reality for yourself? It's almost a new year. Yes, we do want mental health. We do want financial freedom. We do want prosperity. We want to be happy. We want to enjoy life in abundance. That is what human beings want. Every single year, we want life to improve. Will life improve? We might not know. But when there are political events, people will hope that, no, ha ke votela mang mang, dilo di tlo go ba betere, and therefore I'm going to cast my votes here. Don't vote for Banbani, don't, So there is that hope. Regardless, of what the Bible says. And so that's why I'm posing these questions, Jorge. Is it that we are in a state of delusion as human beings? Or how do we reconcile wanting a good life regardless of what the Bible says about how things are going to become increasingly difficult? Have you reconciled that in your mind when things are hard for you? Because even for me, I don't pray and say, God, keep them coming. Like, whoa, I want to be Job. I don't want to be Job. You know, I want to be, I don't know, I want to be Esther. I want to be King Solomon. I want the soft life, if we're gonna call it that. You know, I want the good life. I want an easy life. I don't want a difficult, miserable life just because prophecy says that it's going to be like that. But prophecy says that it's going to be like that. How do we then navigate the system? One of the things that I'm thinking about is how you see the world regressing. Well, I don't know if you see it that way, but in the conservative community, religious community, like where people believe in fundamentals, they would argue that the world is regressing into a state of dictatorship. Do you see it like that? Which is not easy to fathom, considering that for years we have believed in democracy. And the other thing about, I don't know, propaganda or something about hearing it a lot of times and believing it is that regardless of whether democracy is really in action, if you believe that we are in a democratic state because you've heard that that's what we are in, regardless of the reality on the ground, you still believe that life is better today than it was 30 years ago. You still believe that, no, but decisions are made differently today than they were 50 years ago. Therefore, life is better today than then. That's what most people, I think, would probably tell you, looking at least South Africa, and I don't know, maybe even other African countries. You might feel that way. And so, do you see the narrative somewhat changing into a space that might be a bit more? Well, I'm not sure if we could say that, you know, we are progressing as opposed to regressing. And because I'm seeing that, you know, we've got a bit of a technical glitch on the side of our pastor, Pastor Mlilo, who is supposed to be joining us. We'll just try and connect with him in a different way. But for now, don't go anywhere. Here is this issue that I'm talking about. Yeah, that's called the Great Controversy.
Do you think the world is getting better or worse? Unsurprisingly, a huge majority of people today believe the world is getting worse. Maybe this global pessimism is the result of a culture bathed in bad news, or maybe we inherently know the earth-shaking truth presented at the heart of this book. Something is deeply wrong with our planet, and we are powerless to fix it. The Great Controversy not only unveils the origin of human degradation, but also discloses the titanic struggle raging below the din of pandemics and peril, corruption and carnage, murder and mayhem. In this astonishing work, you will discover that evil has a face, good has a champion, and sin has an end. If you want to prepare for the end of this world and the glorious world to come, you must read this book. Join the campaign to distribute millions of copies of The Great Controversy by Ellen G. White to people in and around your communities. Contact your local church for more information or text us at +27 73 470 3520. Adventist World Radio SID Media, from broadcast to baptism. Do you want to listen to Adventist World Radio SID Media but struggle with data? Don't worry. Get yourself the Hope Channel Africa decoder and switch to the Radio Bouquet to listen to your favorite Christian radio station. Contact us on +27 73 470 3520 or visit www.sidmedia.org to place your order. Be part of the conversation. Send us a WhatsApp message on +27 73 470 3520 or call us at +27 12 001 7679. Let your voice be heard. Adventist World Radio, powered by SID Media. From broadcast to baptism.
All right. Welcome to the show. Good morning to you. Happy Sabbath, family. Bongani Mhluli to you too as well. Thank you for joining us, Abuti. We are supposed to be in our Prophecy Today feature where we are looking at issues of the social and economic things that are going to be taking place in our world leading up to the second coming of Christ. And if we go to Revelation chapter 14, of course, over there we are told about the three angels' messages. If you read from verses 6 all the way down to about verses 9, which is the third angel's message. Verse 6 tells us that I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. And worship him that made heaven and earth, the sea, and the fountains of waters. That one sounds like it's reasonable enough to an extent, if you are someone who is willing to fear God, because then you have to go and consider then, okay, what does fearing God mean? Am I able to worship God? He says that if you love me, you will keep my commandments. Do I really love God? Because if we look at the things that we do, which is what this beautiful song that is sung by a gospel and international gospel singer, Jonathan McReynolds, it says, make room. And you listen to the lyrics of that song and how he says, everything that is going to stand in the way between me and you, just take it out. And if you think, okay, if God takes out my job, if God takes out my relationship, if God takes out whatever comfort that you love, that you enjoy, would I still worship him, or am I going to now kind of feel sorry for myself? Like, why are these things happening to me? And someone else might be like, yeah, but if they don't happen to you, who must they happen to? That's the first angel's message about fearing God regardless. And, we look at the 10 commandments. Am I willing to do all of them? My issue is, with us loving God and worshiping God, it should always be from a place of, this is the relationship that I want to have with him, and not because I'm scared, not because the consequences of, oh my gosh, I'm going to burn, or whatever fears that we have, that a lot of us, I think it's a trauma response. They were pumped into us when we were very young, and therefore we look at God as this tyrant, even though we think we don't look at him as a tyrant. The way we behave and reason shows us that we think that he is a tyrant. We need to kind of like get rid of that perception. And then John, the Revelator, continues to then say, which is the second angel's message, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, leading up to then this conversation. How do we get to a point where Babylon is fallen? Yes, I know there are all those images that we need to consider. What is Babylon? How does Babylon become a Babylon? It's not a literal place that only existed in the Old Testament. It's actually an image that is used as a symbol to speak to our entire system, which is what I was saying about how, do you see the world leading into somewhat of a dictatorship? Have you heard the narratives that are on the ground? And I bet if I ask a lot of people, if I ask you perhaps about, how do you think we can resolve the issues that are in our world? Like, the corruption has killed and destroyed so many nations. Let's talk about Africa. Oh my goodness, it is a mess. And it's more than just, there was colonization and then, these people took over, and after they took over, they just don't know how to lead. Like, it's so much bigger than that. If we had to uproot corruption, if you look at children and how there's so much I'm not going to use the word control because no one is a robot, but there's so much disorder. It's not easy to maybe get your families to do that which is right, and you can't control your children to do whatever you want. You look at the schools and the chaos that is there. You look at the unemployment levels and how people are really, really struggling. The poverty is insane. You look at all of those things and you look at the inflation. You're struggling to make ends meet. You spend 6,000 rand on petrol, and it's like, how are you spending so much money? The same amount of money. I saw a doctor was sharing how, in her salary, that's the amount of money that she spends, which is more than how much her car costs, and round about the same amount as her rent costs. And you're like, life is very expensive. Life is literally very expensive. And you look at all those issues, and if you're asked, how would you resolve it? What would you say? I've heard a lot of people bring up, even on the show here, when we've heard, okay, guys, how do we deal with the issues of violence? How do we deal with the issues of alcoholism? How do we deal with the crime rates? People will say, people have lost God. People have lost their moral values. There's a lot of decay, moral decay, and we need to bring that back. I had someone here who was talking about in the school system, gangsterism in schools, and he also said, I think we took religion out of the schools. So you'll hear a lot of sentiments almost speaking to some kind of religion to bring back order. If everyone agrees, if most people agree that that is the way to go, then when you see things kind of moving in that environment, are you going to fight it? Or are you going to be like, this is exactly what we need? We need to force the system. We've got too much wokeism and we need to deal with that because that is the problem with all the issues that everyone is doing whatever they want. Okay, sharp. So Shuguti, now you're going to agree with, even if it means let's have a dictator. I've heard those sentiments in South Africa that, I think South Africa needs a dictator. I think it's time. This thing has not been working. We need someone who's going to tell us this is what we are going to do, how we are going to do it, so that there can be law and order, because we have lost that. That is very insane, but that is how people are kind of like so frustrated with the system and are thinking of how to then improve life, and hopefully things will be better by so doing. So a dictatorship is something that we could consider might be actually on the agenda. 2026, leading up to the next elections, whatever country you're from, you're probably thinking we need someone who is strong, someone who has values that are faith-based, because you believe that that is the way to bring back law and order, decrease corruption, improve opportunities for everyone in the country, have the country to be safe, and all those kinds of issues. And you're not considering how it might affect maybe people who have different religious beliefs, because I've noticed there's so much intolerance. There was a post that I saw during the week where someone was just sharing that my fridge is empty. They took a video and they were sharing, my fridge is empty, like there's nothing. This was, I think, the day before Christmas. There's nothing, or was it the day? I don't know. And it's dry. It's so dry, and these people are Christian. It's so dry, and my siblings, Shusi, the parents, have passed away. My siblings are literally begging that we go and visit Mama's grave, because how do we explain the situation that we find ourselves in? Comment section, very interesting. First comment that was up said something along the lines of, accept Jesus and go back to church, or something along the lines, he will make a way and improve things. I was livid. Not gonna lie. I was like, whoa, wait, is this how we are going to be dealing with things, where instead of helping a person who is in need of help, being the good Samaritan in that moment, you're going to tell the person, just say, Jesus, you are Lord, and I don't know, I give my life to you, and things would improve. But that narrative isn't true. That just because you accept Jesus does not mean that your life will necessarily be hunky-dory. It doesn't mean that. It literally doesn't mean that. And where then does Ubuntu come in to deal with the issues that are on the ground? And I know I have digressed a lot, but socio-economic matters, issues do matter to us as human beings. Rightly so. God has promised us a life of abundance, but in the context of things that are going to be changing, what should we expect looking at the new year that is on our way? Are things going to really look up for us or not? And how do we then come through for other people? You know, the third angel said with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Again, are we not going to accept Christ because we are scared of these consequences, or because you genuinely love God and you see the same God of love, so much passion, is the same God of justice? And sometimes you don't see what justice is depending on the lens that you look at it from. In any court case, we've got the plaintiff and we've got the defendant. And whose side are you on? Everyone wants to win. One person might want to mitigate his losses. Maybe I did commit wrong, but I don't want my sentence to be extreme. The other person wants this person to suffer for the crime that they would have committed. Depending on what the crime is, we've got the community. The community might be like, you killed the baby girl, therefore you need to rot in jail. That's the community. Justice for the community would be to see this person rot in jail. Maybe in another country, it might even be the death penalty. That would be justice. But for the family of that person and whatever, they don't want that person to die. Maybe they're a breadwinner, whatever. People have their own selfish interests. We are all like that. But that person, they're hoping maybe they'll get a sentence that's less and they're going to be rehabilitated. They're going to come out. What would a God of justice do in that kind of situation? I'm not God. I don't know what God would do. But we live in a world that is so chaotic, and we know that we serve a God who we believe is a loving God. I wouldn't want to serve him if he's not a loving God. I would rather believe that he is a loving God. And if justice is going to be dealing with people who have hurt people, people who have caused so much pain in the world, then we would want to love God more because we would feel like we are free because he has rescued us. For them, it would be a different story, probably. Like, oh, this is so mean. We don't deserve this or whatever. Yeah, I know I'm being dramatic in how I'm looking at it because at the end of the day, it does say in the Bible that everyone will declare that Christ is Lord. True. But different perspectives. I don't know. This is, matters that we have to consider. These are matters that we have to consider leading up to a new year. I don't know what your expectations are with regards to prophecy issues, but the social and the economic issues are going to really be taking leeway. The climate issues are huge. And that's not to say that it's an extreme opposition that this is not true. Remember, there's both truth in everything, but there might also be error too, because there's so much confusion, and for a reason. Why would anyone make it very apparent what a deception is? So those are some of the things that we have to consider. Yep. Thank you for joining us on our prophecy update. Good morning to you. I'm seeing the happy Sabbath in Balentle Baba, Esther Lechate. I think maybe Kibu Ausi. Good morning to you all. Thank you for joining us on this one. We're going to come back to the SID Media on Facebook and YouTube after 8 o'clock in the morning, where we are going to be looking at friendship. We want to make sure that we navigate it better in the year 2026. But for now, we are asking for them to also come to the fore and have a beautiful children's story that's going to be shared for them in just a bit. Good morning to you.
Adventist World Radio SID